Welcome back to the Wolf of Property and Casualty. I'm your host, Derek Lasniak, with over 15 years of commercial broking experience, focused on the middle market, upper middle market, national account space. The Wolf of P&C is a practitioner-led story meant for brokers, buyers, carriers. No bullshit, straight talk, straight from my experiences. And early on when I started this podcast, I did an episode about fees versus commission. And I was a little bit unique in my practicing days because I had a lot of my customers on fees. And I think the larger customers, specifically that upper middle market space, people spending over $1 million on premium, especially those at 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, there is an expectation of a fee versus commission. Now, within my own office, there was certainly producers who said they would rather die than work on a fee. Now, a fee is, at its very nature, is saying, I'm going to take all the commission out of the insurance lines to the extent that I can. And you're going to pay me like you would pay any other vendor, just like you pay your attorney. There'll be no commission in the program and we're going to have a set amount. Typically, you're not going to do that if an account's generating $50,000 in commission. You're going to do that when the commissions get well over $100,000. The reasoning that I had about having fees instead of commission is that pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. And I honestly, and to this day, don't necessarily believe that a broker, no matter how good you are, no matter how many resources you have, I find it hard to believe that in the purity of the broker relationship, you can justify much more than $250,000 of commissions. I just don't think that there's that much you can possibly do. There might be unique situations where you are a true extension of the risk management for that firm, but more than $250,000 a year as your broker is a lot. I also would say that there is decent enough brokers out there that'll do it for less. And so if you are caught with commission on a program that has experienced rapid growth in terms of premium, and therefore you find yourself making three, four, five, six, $700,000. Somebody walking in, a Marsh, Aon, Willis, whoever, and saying, "Look, I can do this, and I think I can do a pretty good job, and I'll do it for $150,000." Now, not only do you have to justify the $600,000 in commission you're making, but you have to be able to put a pretty good pin on what is you that you're doing that's 550,000 more than Marsh. And so I never wanted to have those conversations. The other piece that we always talked about, and this is all in that other podcast, is that if you're recommending a new product, or I think you should really take your cyber liability policy and add 5 million, you're taking out this idea that you're making more commission out of that conversation with your customer. Whether or not they think that that's on your mind, it's now not even on the table. And I think there's a benefit if you really want to have a purity to your relationship. And so that's why I had fee agreements. Now, the reason I'm doing an update is not because I brought out content. It's because I was talking to a producer from the Southwest a couple days ago, and they were asking me about this topic. And I thought that because we're in a softer market, for those of you who swear and die by commission, you're probably saying, shit, I just negotiated a 10, 15% decrease in my client's premium, and I just took a pay cut. Well, fees are going to insulate you from those pay cuts in softer market conditions. Now could be a time to talk about a fee. Now you're going to have to say to your customer, you're going to have to say to the buyer, look, we're happy that you got this renewal decrease, but we're also taking a really big haircut and we're doing more work. Maybe we marketed your program. That's why we got the premium decrease. So is there any way that we could migrate now to a fee? I know we've talked about it in the past. Would be the year to do it to help soften our landing. And I wanted to touch on a couple things that I was kicking around with this producer in the Southwest that I thought are really nice to build into fee agreements that make you stand out because not everybody's doing this. And we had people in our office that had did different versions of this very successfully. And it's this idea of having KPIs, key performance indicators. That's a sexy term to having, bonus structures in your fee. Now, I used to do a fee agreement plus a bonus. You can also do a fee agreement where it's plus or minus a bonus. But if you're looking at a fee agreement to soften the decrease that you're taking on commission in this soft market, think about building one that has KPIs in it. And I wanted to give some ideas of what KPIs could do. We had one guy that I used to work with, and his predecessor worked on a really large account. And they were one of the accounts that had a really, really, really large fee/commission arrangement. And one year they were questioned on what are you doing to kind of earn this? And that broker for that year had his team keep a spreadsheet of every single time that they touched this really large account, whether they issued a certificate, whether they answered an email, they tracked all their time. And at the end of it, they took that and put it in a report and went to the customer and said, this is frankly how we're justifying this enormous fee. And that worked and that was sustainable. The idea is not that extreme, but it's similar. What can you build into a fee agreement that is a KPI that's measurable? Having it be measurable is important. And a lot of the things that I did that were bonuses were easily achievable. But here are some of the ideas. I wanted to do, 5 or 6 ideas. Number one, especially in a soft market condition. Quote a captive, quote a group captive, quote an 831B if your client's big enough to justify that. Quoting a captive off renewal is an easy metric. It's something you should be doing, and you're going to educate your customer. Number two, and this one's a little risky because you don't have control over it. Use some kind of metric for the work comp performance, experience modification drop. If we help you get your experience modification drop down 5 points for the next year, we're going to get a bonus of this. That is not all the way in your control. You probably have a pretty good idea in the current year what it's going to do in the next year. So be careful with that one. It also doesn't necessarily mean you did anything differently. We're going to get you a reduction of X on your upcoming renewal. I've had a lot of my colleagues at times say, we want to share in the savings that we produce for your renewal up to 10%. If we save you 100 grand, we want a $10,000 bonus. That's an idea. You're not losing anything if you don't get it. And a lot of clients say, look, if I'm winning at that level, I would definitely share it with you. You're the reason that I got it that far. One that I always did is carrier introductions or executive introductions. If you got a major middle market account, get your insurance carrier. If you're with Travelers or Chubb or whoever, say, look, I want underwriting management and above. When is your regional president or regional VP coming into town? This is a really important client. Can we agree? They spend $1 million with you. Is it possible they could have a cup of coffee? I had clients that didn't want to do any of that shit. And I would tell them, look, this is part of the game. I need you to show up and have a cup of coffee and then hold your carrier accountable. Those relationships, even if there's a bunch of how's the weather or how many kids do you have and let's break bread together, they matter. They matter at the end of the day. When everyone's going around the table saying that was a rocky year, what should we do on renewal? And somebody chimes in at a regional vice president level and says, you know what, I broke bread with these people. They're a good customer. I think this is a one-off. Let's stay the course. They come back to those meetings. And if you're not getting exposure for your clients at that type of level, you're missing on an opportunity. Build it into your fee agreement. Say I want a $2,500 bonus if I put you in front of a regional VP. Clients get it. Clients appreciate that. Next one, facility visits. Every single year, no matter what, even if I had been to all the facilities, I would say somebody from our office is going to be at every facility at least once every 18 months to do a walkthrough, to do a mock OSHA, something along those lines. You can be creative with these. It also allows you to have a conversation with your client about money. I've said this before and I'll say this again. It is important that you are able to talk to your customer about your compensation as a broker. I saw this time and time again with younger producers. I struggled with this throughout my career. You have to be confident. Don't stray away from what you're making. There is no other person I know, center of influence, lawyer, that talks so scared about what they get paid. I know so many attorneys that are bragocious about their $600 an hour as a point of pride. And you know what that does? It gets your customer saying, well, shit, what are they doing? I might be interested. It's a lot of money, but what do they, $600? If someone else is paying that, they must have some special sauce. So having these conversations not only is going to allow your commission and your revenue to be consistent, but it also gets you into the habit of having open conversations with your customer about what you get paid because you're worth it, because you're doing things, and KPIs hold you accountable in doing so. These are important conversations, and this conversation I just had with the producer really reminded me, especially in the soft market. He said a lot of people in his office are running to fees because they don't necessarily see the soft market slowing down, and they don't want to keep taking these commission slaps backwards. Fees are not something that you move in and out of in hard markets. You have to make a conscious decision, but I have found that transparency in this relationship and the ability to isolate compensation away from recommendations within your PNC program is a really nice way to have a good, long-standing relationship with your customer.